Most shooters think they already know the .357 lever gun. They picture walnut stocks, blued steel, and the same few names that have owned the market for decades. But two overlooked rifles are quietly proving that this old cartridge still has a modern future. The Smith Wesson 1854 and the Chiappa Alaskan Takedown are not just different for the sake of being different. They solve real problems: weather resistance, portability, safer unloading, suppressor use, and strong field performance. So why are so many people still ignoring them? Because the lever-action world rewards tradition more than innovation. And that is exactly where the mistake begins. The late 20th and early 21st centuries marked a massive turning point for American firearms manufacturing. While companies like Colt dominated the traditional revolver market, and Winchester heavily ruled the classic lever-action landscape, a handful of forward-thinking manufacturers took significant risks developing highly alternative .357 Magnum platforms. These modern eras saw steady, undeniable innovation in metallurgy and precision manufacturing, with new designs allowing much lighter, weather-resistant frames to handle intense Magnum pressures flawlessly without the heavy, cumbersome bulk of earlier, outdated designs. Smith & Wesson had already established themselves globally as undisputed revolver royalty, but their engineering team harbored intense ambitions well beyond cylinders and chambers. The company's modern factory buzzed with experimental prototypes before officially launching their 2024 lever-action platform. Meanwhile, Italian manufacturer Chiappa was quietly updating and perfecting takedown mechanisms in their Brescia workshops, developing modular systems that would make traditional breakdown rifles look quite primitive and exceptionally fragile by comparison. But the American shooting public has always remained deeply, stubbornly conservative. Traditional hunters strongly wanted classic blued steel and polished walnut. Collectors exclusively wanted heritage brands that looked identical to the rifles shown in classic Western films. The very innovations that made these modern rifles highly capable also made them highly suspicious to deeply traditional buyers who trusted exactly what their fathers and grandfathers had safely carried into the deep woods for multiple generations. Before examining the rifles themselves, it is absolutely critical to understand the precise ballistic advantage of the .357 Magnum cartridge when fired from a rifle-length barrel. Most shooters inherently view the .357 strictly as a handgun round, designed originally in 1935 for law enforcement, personal defense, or medium game hunting at extremely close ranges. However, chambering this exact same cartridge in a closed-breech lever-action rifle completely transforms its ballistic profile, energy transfer, and overall capability in the field. When fired from a standard 4-inch revolver barrel, a standard 158 grain .357 Magnum projectile typically travels at roughly 1,200 feet per second, generating around 500 foot-pounds of energy. But when that exact same cartridge is fired from an 18 or 19-inch rifle barrel, the slow-burning Magnum pistol powders, like H110 or Lil Gun, have significantly more time to fully ignite and build immense pressure behind the bullet before it exits the muzzle. That identical 158 grain projectile suddenly exits the rifle muzzle at over 1,800 feet per second, completely altering its terminal performance. This massive velocity increase dramatically changes the terminal ballistics, pushing the kinetic energy well past 1,100 foot-pounds. A .357 Magnum fired from a lever-action rifle actually approaches the striking energy of a traditional .30-30 Winchester cartridge at close to medium ranges, but it does so with significantly less felt recoil, cheaper practice ammunition, and a much higher magazine capacity. Furthermore, These rifles give shooters the massive logistical advantage of running identical ammunition in both their primary sidearm and their primary long gun. Because both of these rifles also safely chamber and fire .38 special ammunition, shooters can train extensively with low recoil, low-cost rounds before switching to full-power Magnums for the hunt. It simplifies logistics for survivalists, backcountry hunters, and tactical shooters who deeply value streamlined gear loads. The Smith Wesson 1854 lever action represents one of the most underappreciated modern engineering achievements in recent firearms history. When Smith & Wesson officially announced their highly anticipated entry into the lever-action rifle market, some strict industry observers quickly dismissed it as a mere novelty or a distraction from their highly profitable core handgun business. They were largely mistaken about the company's serious, long-term dedication to the platform. The 1854 was named to directly honor the year Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson patented their first lever gun, the legendary volcanic repeating arm, which heavily influenced the design of the famous Henry rifle. However, this new rifle was completely untethered from 19th century limitations. It featured a precision-machined .416 stainless steel receiver that completely eliminated the frustrating corrosion issues heavily plaguing traditional blued lever guns. While traditional competitors stubbornly stuck with older metallurgy, Smith & Wesson heavily invested in premium, weather-resistant materials that added excellent durability in wet, snowy, and highly corrosive coastal environments. The result was a highly modern rifle that could safely handle intense Magnum pressures while completely resisting the environmental damage that often ruined conventional lever actions after years of hard outdoor use. The action itself borrowed essential design elements from classic lever actions, but heavily refined the manufacturing tolerances to an incredible degree. The exact same meticulous precision that made their legendary revolvers famous worldwide translated perfectly into a modern lever action that cycled far smoother than many beloved legacy Marlin or Winchester models straight out of the factory box. The 1854's internal mechanical timing was engineered so precisely that experienced shooters could easily work the levers seamlessly, maintaining a crystal-clear sight picture between rapid shots in a way that was often incredibly difficult with older, clunkier designs. But the real, undeniable innovation lay in the highly modern feature set that Smith & Wesson fearlessly integrated into the platform. Smith & Wesson engineers incorporated a highly functional, tactical polymer forend utilizing the M-LOK standard on their base models, allowing for incredibly quick and easy accessory mounting. Traditional lever-action shooters often had to rely on expensive custom gunsmiths or clumsy barrel clamps to mount necessary white lights or lasers. The 1854 allowed users to securely bolt on modern illumination tools, quick-detach sling swivels, bipods, or grip stops directly to the factory forend at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions. Furthermore, the rifle maintained excellent, tight shot groups even after rapid-fire strings, a performance standard that regularly outperformed many traditional hunting rifles, costing significantly more money. The trigger mechanism deserves highly special attention in this deep dive. Rather than the crude, heavy, and notoriously gritty pulls common to older lever actions, Smith & Wesson engineered a crisp, clean break with their modern flat-face trigger design that rivaled expensive custom hunting rifles. The flat trigger blade itself was meticulously machined from high-quality components rather than the cheap cast metal frequently found in many budget-tier lever guns, promoting a consistent, straight rearward pull every single time. The original retail price upon its recent launch was firmly positioned around $1,200. Placing it directly in the premium tier alongside custom hunting platforms and dedicated tactical lever guns. Yet extensive, Independent performance testing consistently showed the Smith Wesson holding its own against highly expensive custom competitors in rigorous accuracy, reliability, and extreme drop tests. The rifle's 19.25-inch or 16.3-inch trapper barrel options delivered exceptional flat shooting velocities, while securely maintaining significantly better balance for quick, reactive handling in dense cover or tight indoor corridors. The extended magazine tube securely held an impressive 9 rounds of .357 Magnum, providing excellent capacity for any hunting scenario, while keeping the overall length highly manageable for tree stand hunting or tight vehicle transport. One of the most quietly brilliant features was the removable magazine tube system. Unlike older lever actions that forced shooters to dangerously cycle every single live round through the chamber to empty the gun, the 1854 featured a highly secure threaded cap at the end of the magazine tube. A shooter could simply unscrew the cap, pull the inner brass tube, and safely dump the live ammunition directly into their hand without ever chambering a round. This feature alone made it vastly safer for administrative unloading inside vehicles or hunting cabins. Additionally, the factory barrel was threaded specifically at an 11/16 by 24 thread pitch to accept modern sound suppressors. Shooting a .357 Magnum through a suppressed lever-action rifle is widely considered one of the quietest, most enjoyable shooting experiences in the modern firearms world. When shooters load heavy, subsonic .38 special ammunition into the 1854, the acoustic signature rivals the absolute silence of suppressed rimfire rifles, making it a spectacular pest control or discreet hunting tool. Despite these incredibly distinct advantages, the 1854 fights an ongoing uphill battle with deeply traditionalist shooters. Smith & Wesson's historic, dominant reputation was built entirely on handguns, and some skeptical rifle buyers purposefully remain hesitant about their long gun manufacturing capabilities. However, the company actively continues to heavily produce the model, making these modern rifles increasingly popular among the growing demographic of tactical lever-action enthusiasts, who prioritize raw function over classic aesthetics. The Chiappa Alaskan Takedown emerged from a completely different, highly specialized design philosophy. While many domestic American manufacturers focused strictly on traditional aesthetics, the Italian manufacturing company prioritized hardcore backcountry functionality above all else. The stunning result was a modern .357 Magnum rifle that updated what highly portable truly meant for the modern survivalist and wilderness hunter. The takedown mechanism itself represents a prime, highly refined example of modular rifle design. Based heavily on the legendary John Moses Browning 1892 action, the barrel safely separates from the receiver, with a partial twist of the magazine tube and the action, safely breaking the rifle into 2 compact sections that fit perfectly into a purpose-built carrying case or standard survival backpack. Traditional breakdown rifles often required highly specialized tools, tiny, easily lost screws, and careful, tedious reassembly procedures that were practically impossible in the dark or under stress. The Chiappa system allowed extremely fast field stripping and solid reassembly in seconds without any additional equipment whatsoever. The engineering behind this elegant, functional simplicity was remarkably complex. Chiappa developed a precision interrupted thread lockup system that positioned the barrel in exactly the same location every single time, safely maintaining absolute zero even after hundreds of rigorous breakdown cycles. Traditional takedown rifles frequently suffered from slowly shifting points of impact, as the critical barrel-to-receiver fit loosened over time through repeated use. The Chiappa's steel-on-steel, heavily reinforced lockup safely maintained exceptional tight tolerances across years of heavy backcountry use. The foundation of this rifle relies on Browning's brilliant twin vertical locking lug design. Unlike the weaker toggle link actions of 1873 models, the 1892 action used in the Alaskan Takedown is notoriously one of the strongest pistol-caliber actions ever engineered. It handles the high-pressure spikes of modern heavy cast point .357 Magnum bear loads with absolute ease. The barrel itself featured a heavy octagonal profile, an intentional manufacturing compromise that safely maximized overall structural strength while perfectly matching classic Western aesthetics. Chiappa's strict Italian proofhouse testing clearly demonstrated that this uniquely profiled barrel safely developed excellent, consistent velocity and efficiency that reflected highly advanced internal ballistics optimization, specifically tuned for the modern Magnum cartridge. The stock deserved equal, highly specific attention. Rather than utilizing traditional, easily scratched gloss wood, Chiappa ingeniously used wood heavily finished with a soft-touch rubber polyurethane overmold that was highly weather-resistant. The stock design safely incorporated a durable, non-slip finish that was securely integral to the design rather than sprayed on poorly as an afterthought. The result was an incredibly practical, rugged rifle that safely tamed .357 Magnum recoil beautifully even in harsh, freezing elements where standard wood stocks would become incredibly slick and difficult to safely shoulder. The magazine system stayed completely, unapologetically true to its lever-action roots. Instead of attempting to integrate an unreliable box magazine, the Chiappa used a traditional tube magazine that reliably held up to 7 rounds of .357 Magnum. This heavily proven design completely eliminated the frustrating feeding problems frequently common to highly unconventional actions. The tubular magazine allowed for highly reliable feeding across a very wide variety of bullet weights and profiles, from lightweight jacketed hollow points to massive, heavy hard-cast lead bullets designed specifically for bear defense, making highly critical follow-up shots significantly faster. The sighting system on the Chiappa Alaskan was completely upgraded for immediate field use. Rather than utilizing the traditional hard-to-see semi-buckhorn sights common to 19th century designs, the Alaskan featured premium Skinner peep sights directly from the factory. These heavy-duty machined steel aperture sights, utilizing a wide ghost ring, allowed shooters to acquire their targets significantly faster in low-light conditions, maximizing the effective range of the .357 Magnum cartridge in dense brush environments. The trigger mechanism was highly refined for immediate, practical field use. The single-stage trigger broke cleanly with minimal overtravel, allowing for highly precise shot placement. The lever loop was intentionally heavily oversized into a specialized D-shaped loop to easily accommodate thick winter gloves, a highly practical consideration that accurately reflected the rifle's intended use as a dedicated, highly portable wilderness survival tool in freezing environments. Pricing firmly positioned the Alaskan Takedown as a premium, highly specialized option, retailing well over $1,400 in recent years, depending entirely on the exact model. This put it well above basic entry-level lever actions, but fully justified its rightful place as a highly specialized, reliable hunting rifle. The modular design, precision Italian manufacturing, and premium components absolutely warranted the premium price tag, but deeply traditional buyers remained highly hesitant to boldly embrace such radical modern updates to conventional lever-action rifle designs. The rifle's extremely compact breakdown profile made it highly practical for dedicated backcountry hunting, where space constraints and strict weight restrictions completely eliminated the possibility of carrying traditional full-length rifles. Bush pilots operating in remote Alaska and professional hunting guides working in remote, dangerous areas quickly recognized the clear, undeniable advantages. But mainstream whitetail hunters often stubbornly stuck with familiar, vastly cheaper lever-action designs that could not break down. Chiappa actively continues refining the design, But its premium status inherently means American sales strictly remain a dedicated, specialized niche market. The company caters heavily to specific survival, prepper, and hardcore backcountry demographics, heavily supported by prominent importers, leaving the average American shooting public largely unaware of exactly what they are missing out on regarding modern takedown functionality. Understanding precisely why these two highly exceptional .357 Magnum rifles remain somewhat overlooked requires carefully examining the deeply conservative nature of American shooting culture over the past several decades. Traditional hunters inherently trust brands with century-long continuous reputations.